All right, thank you everyone for joining us for our first session of the Sharing the Love for Healthcare virtual forum. We're going to start up with the behind the curtain donor services and medical billing and coding. So what we hope to learn from this session are some things that you can do to support healthcare that maybe aren't right in with the patients and the patient-y kind of things. Like I would not be doing anything that involves guts or blood or any of that kind of stuff, but maybe I want to support the healthcare. And so this would be a great way to do it. So we have some lovely panel members with us today. We have Pete Lux from Mississippi Valley Regional Blood Center. We also have Lakeisha Brown, who is the medical coding instructor at Midwest Technical Institute. And we have Lori Hamann, who is the high school admissions counselor from MTI. So she will become your friend here very soon when you get excited about doing one of their programs. All right, I think we will get started with just some brief introductions from each of our panelists so you can get to know them all a little bit better. Pete, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. My name is Pete Lux. I'm a nurse and I'm the Director of Donor and Patient Services at the Mississippi Valley Regional Blood Center. And that is a mouthful, so soon we are changing our name. So a little secret there for you. Now, I've been here about 6 years. I've actually been in blood banking shortly after I graduated from high school. Started as a tech, and we can get more into that. But in my role, I oversee all the collection activities that we do. So we have blood drives at high schools. Many of you have probably already donated. That's what I do, oversee all that activity.
I was muted, sorry. Sorry.
I'm glad to be here as part of this today.
Okay, sorry guys, I was muted. We'll go ahead and have Lakeisha introduce herself now.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Lakeisha Brown. I'm the new coding and billing instructor here at MTI, Midwest Technical Institute. I began teaching many years ago at Brown Mackie College and then taught for a very long time at Palmer College of Chiropractic, where I help doctors or potential soon-to-be doctors handle the billing and coding in their own offices and practices. I also work in the field off and on with doctors around the Quad City area, and now I'm here at MTI, so thanks for having me.
That's exciting, thank you so much. And then Lori, could you please introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I'm the high school admissions counselor for MTI, and I'm really excited that you guys have given us this forum to talk about the medical programs we have here. So I really appreciate it. And now's the time to help the high school students, kind of learn about the programs, start shoring up everything, because those big decisions are happening now. So thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so what we want today is just to kind of get a day in the life of each of our panelists, just to kind of learn like how they spend their day, day in, day out. And as you hear from each one of them, just kind of try to think about other ways that people in similar positions might spend their days. So for instance, if Pete shares with us about different meetings and stuff like that, you can assume that if you were in some kind of director role within the healthcare field, you would be seeing yourself doing similar kinds of situations. And then same for Lakeisha as an instructor, just kind of listening to how she prepares people to spend their day to day. And there are many other ways that you could help the healthcare field, maybe just not in medical coding, but just kind of just think outside the box of different ways you might see yourself. So Pete, do you want to go ahead and share with us just like a day in the life of Pete?
I usually am in the office Monday through Friday. I get here about 7 o'clock. I usually work till 5-ish. I often start my day reviewing several reports about activities from the day before, and then may have to take action on some of that information. We do keep track of every donor who comes in, how they present, what they've donated. Did they have a reaction? Do they need follow-up, any type of follow-up because they have a reaction. We also keep track of any deviations that occur. So if a donor comes in and they don't answer a question, we have to find out the answer to that question before we can release that product. In my role as director, I also see other aspects of the blood collection activity, auditing all the paperwork, and then our patient services team. I do have managers. I have 8 managers who report to me directly, and they oversee their teams at their respective locations. So we have St. Louis, Dubuque, Ottumwa, Springfield, Urbana, here in the Quad Cities. So it's quite an extensive territory that we cover. I do meet with each of them for a one-on-one once a week and talk about where they are doing well. I always focus on what's going right. And so that's definitely one thing that I always focus on. And then we talk about where there may be an opportunity to improve a process or improve their relationship with their team or how they can be a better leader. I do have a bachelor's and a master's in management and leadership. So definitely leading people to be successful is what I thrive on. I always want to make sure, I call it, my job is to create an environment where people can be successful. So in that, and that includes me as well. So in that role, I also work with all the other department directors because everything that we do in blood collection or donor services impacts every department in this company. So we have recruitment, so they're out getting the blood drives. I have to work really closely with them because it's my job to make sure when they schedule a blood drive that they can have the equipment and the staff that they need. So we work closely with that team. With the labs where we are sending the blood and all the test tubes to be tested. And there are some pictures here of products as they are being prepared. On the left, you can see they're filtering that whole blood. I'm sorry, they're filtering the packed red cells to remove the white cells. So that helps make a better product for the patient. On the right, that is little bags of plasma. So plasma, as you've probably learned in science or health class, is the fluid in which all of your blood cells are transported in. Those are just some of the components that we create. But in blood collection, my team, screens the donor, scrubs the arm, sticks the donor, collects the blood. So I have to make sure they're all well trained to do that. I work closely with training and lots of meetings, really. As director, my job is probably 60 to 70% of my time is spent in a conference room, I used to say, but now it's spent staring into a Zoom camera. So we do a lot of virtual meetings now. We have a lot of people working from home. I don't particularly care for working from home, so I come to the office every day and coordinate a lot of activities, lots of projects that we have going on. For instance, with the pandemic that started last year, we collected convalescent plasma from donors. So as a leader in this organization, I took on the role of, let's get that implemented. Let's see, how can we screen a donor? We'd have donors who had recovered from COVID, and then we had to make sure they have enough antibodies, then that they were eligible to be a donor. And then how did it make its way through the lab? What additional testing did we have to do? So as I took on that project because I like doing stuff like that and making sure that each step along the way, that team of people had what they needed to get that product to the patient as they need it. So that was fulfilling, and we were able to do that much more quickly than we are able to do a lot of things. I also spend time evaluating other new equipment, new processes. I work with colleagues from other blood centers to evaluate the differences and the similarities between what we do. So are they doing something that we can learn from? Do we do something here in the Quad Cities that other blood banks and blood collection sites can learn from? So work collaboratively with those teams. And also, as a director in a very small industry, blood banking is not really all that big. Outside of the Red Cross, there's about 65 blood centers like ours here in the Quad Cities. And I say ours because I believe it belongs to all of us, not just the people that work here. And I've given lots of presentations at national conferences. I even got to go to France one time and speak for a vendor about a product that we had implemented. So that was very exciting. Those things don't come along very often, but they are fun when they do. Today, I'm going to do this. This is the second one maybe that I've done, a roundtable of this nature with Lauren. So I definitely enjoy doing these things as well because, like I said earlier, I started at a blood bank when I was 20 in 1991, when that was a very long time ago, and I would never have thought that I would still be doing this. But I've moved around from that tech level, entry level position and up to director. And it's been a very exciting career. I've really enjoyed it. And I think I still have several years left. I'm not rushing out or anything, but that's a little more than a day in my life, but there's a lot, but it's a lot of collaborating with people. That's what I would say that is the biggest chunk of my job, whether it be my own team or other directors. You have to be willing to work with others, listen to their ideas, and help them succeed.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. That's really important. Okay, I think next we'll have Lakeisha share a day in her life.
All right, very good. Hey guys. So this is a new program at MTI. So I'm basically building it from scratch. Now there are other coding and billing programs at other MTIs across the Midwest, but this is new here in the Quad Cities. So I'm just going to give you guys a rundown of, as an instructor, how I prepare my classes, how I run my classes, what my expectations are of my students. First and foremost, I like to get to know my students. I really like to build that rapport, build that relationship with them, because I feel that my job is very important to help transition them from classroom to career, from classroom to profession. And by getting to know my students, I know their strengths, I know their weaknesses, I know what they're good at, and I want to set them up for success. And so I feel that my role as an educator is very important. I make my students work hard because I want to draw out the best in them. I want to send them into the field with them being confident, capable, and giving us a good review, so to speak. Hey, I came from MTI. Oh my gosh, MTI produces great students, great employees. They have a positive attitude. So that's my goal as an instructor, to draw the best out of my students, to build a rapport with them, to make them work hard while they're here. And the same expectations that I would have in the classroom are very similar to that of an employer. I expect you to be here on time. By on time, I mean 5 minutes early. I expect you to be professional in the classroom. We don't have cell phones in here, so there's a place that's designated for your cell phone. Address each other with kindness and respect. If you have a challenge or something is hard, then let's talk about it. Let's talk about it face to face, as you would do in a workplace. If you have a problem with a coworker or your supervisor, what would you do? Well, we sit down and talk about it. We address it head on. If students are struggling academically, then it's definitely my goal to nip it in the bud early, to see where they're struggling, to help them be successful. Although I'm an educator, I still feel that life skills are important. So I try to integrate those life skills into my classroom. What does professionalism mean? What does it mean to have professional communication skills? So even when asking a question, I want students to use the professional terminology that's required in the profession. So we're going to learn that jargon. So I don't know if that really talks about the day in a life. You know, as an educator, I give you the content. I integrate real life scenarios. Although it's coding and billing, I try to draw on current events. So if they're talking about healthcare in the news media, guess what? We're going to talk about it in the classroom. I also ask students to teach me something, because I don't feel that I know everything. So I like the students to also take ownership of the class, ownership of the material, because I think that's a long-lasting impression on them. And then hopefully by the end, it's been a great experience for them. They're well prepared for their externship, for the workplace. And that's just the start of their long-term professional career. So hopefully that gives you some idea.
That is great. Ooh, 1 second.
And could you then talk about a day in the life of coding as well? Because I know that you've done that. So what would be a day like for you?
Sure. And so, Mary, you asked me before about the difference between coding and billing. So I'll just focus on the coding aspects if you like. So really, whenever you're dealing with coding, that deals with the actual services that a doctor renders to their patients, along with the diagnoses that the doctor determines for the patient. So what a medical coder does is take those written notes and transpose those into alphanumeric codes, numbers. Procedure codes, the services that the doctor renders to the patients, they're a 5-digit code. And I have a huge book. Let's see, I'll show you what it kind of looks like. This book here is a procedure code book. So all procedures that the doctor renders is in this huge book here. There's a ton of them, and students don't have to learn them all. You just have to get an idea of where to find them and why they are where they are. So as a medical coder, you work pretty closely with your doctor to know the services that they render, the diagnoses that they determine for the patients. And you put them in an electronic format, which is a claim form, or it's in a paper format. Most doctors have an EHR or an EMR, which is an electronic medical records, electronic health records, and a lot of things are done electronically now, which is really, really nice. So medical coders, you're gonna work closely with your doctor. You're gonna look at the services, you're gonna look at the notes and determine the appropriate code for those. And so a lot of the work that you do every day is gonna be in an office setting. It's gonna be looking at a computer, it's going to be looking at paperwork and documentation. So the pictures that you see on the screen, it's to my right of the young ladies in front of a computer, and you see all of her books around her. That's what you're doing most of the day when it comes to coding. Billing is very similar, except you're going to be on the phone more, talking with insurance companies, third-party payers about the claim itself. So I know I use some jargon in there, some terminology in there, and that's something that you'll learn too along the way, is the terminology associated with coding and billing. So hopefully that gives you some idea.
Yes, that's really great. Thank you for explaining both of those different opportunities for us.
Sure, absolutely.
Lori, I know Lori's here to talk more about like how we can get you into the right spot, but I do think it's important, Lori, if you could just share a little bit about your day today, because that is helping the healthcare field by you getting out there and recruiting new students and getting them into the right classes so that they can be trained properly. So if you could just share a little bit about your day today, I think that's really helpful.
Good morning. So one of the things that I focus on is trying to talk to students about trade school. So there's a lot of choices that students can make after high school. They can look at 2-year, 4-year college. They may want to just enter the workforce. They may enter, Army, Navy, Air Force, or they may look at a trade school. And a lot of times when people think of trade school, they think of, welding or, construction, but we have an extremely important allied health program here where we offer medical coding, medical assisting, dental assisting, and phlebotomy. And what I try to do is get into the high schools, which with COVID has been somewhat difficult. So I too am also becoming an expert at Zoom talking. But my job is to share with you that there are other options out there after school. So if you're interested in medical and the medical field, then I either will do a meeting over Zoom. I meet with high school students and their parents. And it's also very important that we talk about financial aid because, depending on where you're at, you have to have it done, your FAFSA done to graduate from high school. I also work with scholarships. So scholarship deadlines, helping students with scholarship videos. We have career nights that we focus on. And then coming up in March 25th, we're actually going to do a specific allied health day here at the college. And we're going to invite students to come in and kind of a field trip and meet the instructors and see the labs and see what it's all about. Because you'd be really surprised at I think it's awesome how cool it is when you come in. And our focus is hands-on. So I like to talk to the students about hands-on, and our focus is to get them career ready, like she said, from classroom to career, and make sure you're confident and ready to go on day one once you graduate from our program. And we also work on job placement assistance. So a little bit of everything, but I can tell you, I have 2 sons, 26 and 22, and I really care deeply about helping students find what is right for them and what they're going to enjoy and helping them move forward.
Thank you so much. That is great. Okay, so students, hopefully you're kind of seeing that there's a lot of different ways that we can support the efforts of the healthcare field, even if we are not directly dealing with a patient. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start our question and answer portion. And we have a question bank from all of the students that registered for the event. We had them put some questions in to kind of get us started. But as we get going, if you all students have questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat and we'll be watching that and we can use those questions also. So why don't we go ahead and start with what is your favorite thing about your career? So what is the thing that gets you out of bed? You jump out of bed every morning, excited to go do something, the one favorite thing about your career. And I know it's not the coffee on your way to work. Go ahead, Pete.
So this one always, to me, you mentioned it earlier about being part of healthcare. We are not providing care directly to the patient. Even as a nurse, I don't do that in my job every day. But people die if they don't get blood and they need it. It's like car accidents, cancer treatments. All blood is used for many, many different types of treatments. And as you're a collection technician and you collect 5-10 units a day, you are really directly impacting those people. And as you move up, you know, I went from technician to supervisor to manager, and each time I became responsible for a much larger portion of the collection operations. So as director, it is my job to ensure that nearly 200,000 donors a year are collected safely, appropriately, and so that it leads to a safe, pure, potent product. And it still amazes me that that is my job, to make sure that hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people are impacted in a positive manner every year because of the work that I do, and that I make sure that others know how to do it. So that is what literally after 30 years still gets me up and going. And I cannot think of another thing I would rather do.
Well, I would say that's a really good reason to get out of bed, and please keep doing it. All right, Lisa, what is your favorite part of your job?
Just to know that you are making a difference is very important. And of course, when it comes to money and finance, I also have an MBA. So healthcare and business kind of intertwine for me. And just knowing that you are making a difference, because when it comes to insurance and healthcare, costs can skyrocket, and getting hit with a medical bill can be devastating to a lot of people. And just knowing that when we do our jobs right and we do it well, people can open up their EOB or open up their bill and see a zero balance or a very low balance. And you can say, you know what, I had something to do with that. So that knowing that we still make a big difference in people's lives is really important to me. And another aspect, I guess I'm a big nerd. I love learning. I love new things. And in this profession, a lot of things change on a pretty consistent basis, almost yearly. And when you see something new or something has changed, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And even just to know that what you do every day is current, that it's relevant. You can look at things happening in the news and happening with the government, and knowing that, you know, you're a part of something bigger, you know, outside of your office, outside yourself, and also seeing new codes pop up, you know. There's a code if somebody gets a jelly bean stuck in their nose. There's a code if a turtle bites off your finger. There's a look at your face. There's all kinds of codes, you know, and that's some of the things that I do with my kids. Find the freakiest code you can find, you know. So there are lots of things that you discover in your profession, you know, that you'd never even know. So those are the things I like.
So when I was like, I don't know, let's say 4, I put a Twizzler up my nose. Would that have a code these days?
Yes, it's a foreign body. That's what those things are called. It's a foreign body in your nose.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so
you really did get a Twizzler stuck up your nose
hit
when you
on
were
your
4?
part with connecting students to their careers. Anything else to add?
Can you say it again, Haley?
Oh, did we lose sound again?
Maybe.
Can you hear me, Mrs. Johnson? Okay. All right. we're going to go on to the next question because we can't hear anyone from MTI. So we're going to go on.
I can hear them.
Oh,
Here.
hold on a second. Oh, you can hear them?
Yeah.
Okay. So Lori, do you have anything to add?
No, I think
Because
just the most important part for me is
back up, Anna.
helping students. It's really neat to see them excited about having their choices made and excited about their career. And when they come to the hands-on for career night, it's really fun. So I'm just helping them take that next step is very rewarding.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so we had some questions besides like the big picture part of your careers. Students were kind of wondering like things more like, you know, how many hours a day do you work, and do you get like vacation time, and what does that look like? So let's head back to Pete again. And Pete, if you want to kind of talk to us about like the hours, I think you already said Monday to Friday, but a little more on the hours, and then what your vacation time looks like.
So I usually work, I would say anywhere from 9 to 10 hours Monday through Thursday. Friday, I usually cut out a little early, and even a couple of hours on the weekend. So it is pretty much close to 24/7. I'm on call for a lot of things, and all of that works for me because I can, you know, being salaried, I can work from anywhere. I don't have to clock in or out. And in fact, last week or the week before last, I went to Phoenix for a week and worked half days all week. So I didn't burn up all of my vacation while I was there. For how long I've been here and the benefit that we have, I get 26 PTO days a year. So that does include sick pay. So that can really add up. We're not for profit, so the salaries may not be as high as, say, if you work for a for-profit organization, and I'm okay with that too. But our benefits, especially PTO, tend to be a little bit higher than a for-profit company. So that worked out well, and I still managed to have a fun life outside of work. But my friends are like, I'll get calls on Saturday morning. Do they ever stop calling you? And I'm like, no. They're usually like 2-3 minutes. They have a quick question, whatever it may be, and then it's done. So I'm always glad to take those calls, mostly because I don't want to be seen as just the director that nobody really knows. I want staff to know that they can approach me when they need help, and if something's wrong that they've discovered, I want them to feel comfortable to come to me and say, hey, I found this and I'm not sure that I understand what it means. I don't want them to like sweep anything under the rug because they're afraid of me. So I work very hard to be approachable in that regard. But that's why, yeah.
Great. Okay, Lakeisha? We can't.
Here, try it now.
Can you guys hear me now? No? Yes? Okay, good. So I work Monday through Thursday, and I have Fridays off. Is there a lot of feedback? Laura, I think you have to mute.
Okay.
You may have to go to the same room.
There you go.
Okay. Sure, might as well. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I'm on Lori's computer. So I work Monday through Thursday, 8.5-hour days, and then I have Fridays off. So I work 36 hours a week. Vacation time, it kind of goes in conjunction with students. So students have 2 weeks off during Christmas break, so that's also my vacation time. Students have 2 weeks off during the summertime. That's also when I take my vacation. And then we have other holidays sprinkled throughout the year, like Thanksgiving, Martin Luther King holiday. We just had, was it President's Day? That was off. So really my vacation time coincides with the school calendar. So I think it works out to about 5 weeks throughout the year that we have for vacation. So it's kind of nice, just to work Monday through Thursday. And I'm the type of person, I like to leave work at work. I know some people like to take work home with them, but I have a young family. I have a 4-month-old baby. So when I'm home, it's my husband and my kids. So I try to leave work at work, and so having Fridays off is really nice.
Lakeisha, how does it work for the coding then? Is that a full-time job as well?
Let's see.
Lakeisha, for the coding, could you tell us a little bit about the hours and maybe the expectations on that? Is that something that's full-time typically or part-time?
Sure. A lot of it really just depends on the office that you work in, or if you're at a hospital. Sometimes it's a typical Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, but some offices may have coders and billers work on certain days where it's like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It really varies, and it really depends on the practice or the hospital that you work at. Some is part-time and some is full-time. So I can't say that there's, like a one size fits all kind of thing. It's really across the board. Depends on how large or small and what the doctors need. Doctor or doctors, because some practices have more than one provider. So it really varies, but usually it's a first shift kind of setup, 8 to 5 or 7 to 3 or something like that.
Great, thank you so much for sharing. Sorry, I'm a little bit delayed. We're having some audio issues here at Bettendorf High School. Okay, shall we go on to our next question here? So is there anything that you wish you could do over within your career? So is there something you would have done differently, a different started early, anything you would do differently? Pete, you want to get started?
I honestly think that I can say no to that. I look back and I think the opportunities that I had that came along, I don't know that I fully understood the impact of that opportunity, but I knew it was an opportunity. So I took advantage of many of them along the way. And I don't know that I would change anything. So, which I think is very fortunate for me. I mean, I really have no regrets about the path that my career has taken.
That's great, thank you. Lakeisha?
I would say the same thing. I mean, just in my professional career, I've learned so much. I've had the opportunity to experience many different things. And I think that all of my experiences have made me who I am. And I'm very fortunate in that respect. A lot of doors have opened for me over the years. I can say one of the things I'm really glad that I did is right out of high school, I went to college. Right out of college, I got my master's degree. So having that base education really afforded me a lot of opportunities. So I really was able to pick and choose which direction I wanted to go, and I don't have any regrets.
That's wonderful. So it's very clear to see that all of you love the career that you're doing and the work that you're doing, but everybody has bad days. So what would you say was like your worst day, or like what would make a bad day for you in your position? Pete?
So about a year after I started working here, we had a unit of blood returned from the hospital with the wrong blood type on it. Fortunately, it was compatible. So if it had been transfused, no patient would have been harmed. But it was caused by one of my own staff members thinking he didn't have to follow the procedures that we have in place. So that was a bad day. Not that it was directly related to me, but it was someone on my team who really decided he was above the procedures and didn't have to follow them. He was fired.
Did you say he was fired?
He was.
Yeah.
I will help you succeed, and if you mess up because you don't fully understand it, I'm all there for you. But if you're not going to follow the procedures and think that you don't have to, that is a different subject.
Okay,
Lakeisha, sorry guys, we're having audio problems here. If I cut you off, I'm really sorry.
Man, I totally understand that. I can remember this was early in my career when I was doing coding and billing from home. And I literally was on the phone with one insurance company from 8 a.m. until they closed at 5 p.m. trying to get a claim paid. It was one patient, and they kept giving me the runaround from one department to the next department and from the other department to the next department. And it literally took about a week of solid calling and notes. And sometimes you have to tell them when they're wrong, and they don't always like that when they're wrong. And so that was a tough day/week in the life of, that was more so a billing aspect as opposed to a coding aspect. But I mean, you learn patience, you learn tolerance, you learn to, as I mentioned earlier, remain professional even when others are not. They don't always speak so kindly toward you. But I can say it did get remedied at the end, but it takes persistence, it takes consistency, and it takes you oftentimes taking the high road when others don't.
I love that. Remain professional even when others are not. That is huge. I'm going to write that down right now. Okay, so everyone has kind of talked about some of the qualities that you need in your role and some of the things that maybe like you possess as strengths. So this is kind of a little bit outside of like your specific career, but I think it's important for all of our students, no matter what career path they head down, to recognize that everyone has weakness and everyone has things that maybe aren't in their toolbox or their skill set. So could you, and don't feel like you need to like tie this to like your day in, day out, but think about maybe something that is a weakness that you have. And could you talk about like the extra work or something that you do so that that weakness doesn't tear down the work you're trying to get done? That's a hard one, I know. Pete, go ahead.
So I actually have a couple. Patience, I think many of us can relate to that. Having the patience to deal with some situations, some people when they're really struggling and you've worked so hard to make sure they understand it, and yet you still want them to succeed, you have to show patience. You can't show that you're frustrated, which can be very easy to do. And although I'm not in training and I don't necessarily teach like Lori and Lakeisha do, definitely you don't want that person you're interacting with to see that you're, getting frustrated, because that's going to tear them down and they won't succeed. I think paying attention and focusing has always been a struggle for me. Even as a young child, I struggled with that. So often if someone does come to my office and they want to talk, or a Zoom meeting like this, I turn off other distractions. Like I put my phone not just on vibrate, but actually on silent, so I don't even hear it vibrate. I usually turn off my other monitor and I really try to focus, but I forever have things coming at me. On the flip side of that, that's a good thing, because I can get bored pretty easily with one thing I'm doing, and if I work on it for like an hour, I'm like, okay, I'm done with this for now. I got plenty of other things I can go work on. So I think that focusing on someone and the people at hand and showing patience, you're not just being patient. I feel like I could be pretty patient, but I have to make sure I don't even come across as impatient, because I don't want someone to think they can't come to me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Lakeisha, would you like to share?
Sure. Pete, you made a lot of good points. I'm going to have to use some of those. I think my biggest weakness I've noticed is I get burned out pretty easily. Just sometimes work overload, sometimes a lot of things going on. And then I'm like, oh, do I have to do this again? That burnout. So what I've noticed helps for me is to take small breaks and have many goals set for myself. Lists are my friend. I always have lists, things that I need to accomplish during the day. I like to work out a lot. So just taking maybe a 5-minute step away from my desk type of walk, so that I can come back refreshed. So that's one thing that I've noticed about myself over the years, is that I can easily get burnt out, but I always have to remember the positive side, to stay optimistic, and to think about the big picture, and not just where I am right now, not make it always about myself and what I need. So I think that's been a challenge for me, but I think I found some ways to remedy that.
Thank you so much for sharing. Please excuse our school announcements that are happening right now. That is great. Lori, did you have anything you wanted to share about weaknesses and overcoming those?
I think one of the key things I would say that I have learned is to recognize that everybody has their own story. We have a lot of different students coming in, and they all come from different backgrounds and different situations. And my goal, of course, is to help them take that next step. But I think more importantly, my goal is to learn about them as a person first. And to always just keep in my mind, whether at work or outside of work, take a minute and pause if you're meeting somebody new or you're jumping into a conversation, and realize that everybody has a story and maybe you don't know what that story is, and to recognize that and be a friend to everybody.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we are getting kind of close to time here, and I don't think we've had any new questions in the chat, which I'm not discouraged by. I think you all have such specific jobs, and I'm really glad that we are connecting you with students, because I think these are jobs that if you are interested in healthcare, you might not think, oh, I got to go be an admissions counselor or this or that. So I'm really excited we have this opportunity to connect. I do want to have one last question, and that is, what is one piece of advice that someone has given you that you really held on to, or is there a piece of advice that you would like to give others? Or if you have both, we have plenty of time to do both, but just really that lasting impression someone's left on you, or what you try to impress upon others. Pete, go ahead.
I've actually had more mentors than I think I can even count, and I'm grateful to every one of them. Years ago, I used to be one of these people that you would just say what you had to and move on. Who cares how the person felt about it? But what you learn is that if you really upset someone in the first sentence and you're trying to find out what happened, why did a deviation occur, why are they not coming to work, making them mad in the first 30 seconds gets you absolutely nowhere. So like Lori said, everybody has a story. And I'm not a fan of the term leave your problems at the door. No, we all have lives outside of work. Things happen. And this was a gradual thing for me. I didn't wake up when, 20 years ago and go, everybody's got problems that we need to make sure we help them. And I don't know that they're necessarily problems. They're just things that go on. Life happens outside of work, and listening to people with purpose, and not just kind of halfway listening. That goes so far when you are attentive to someone who has come to you because they do have a problem or something has happened or they need help, and being that compassionate person to listen to them, you will have a lot. That makes you a stronger leader. And I've been doing that for years, listening to people, understanding that, you just can't leave all your junk at the door, or you can't be so direct with someone that you hurt their feelings, or even make them cry. You're just not going to get anywhere in that situation. So being compassionate, I think, was probably the greatest thing I was ever taught. And understanding that, like Lori said, people do have stories. They have kids, they have grandparents, they maybe take care of their parents. Who knows? I mean, we all have things. So just being aware of that and being considerate of what their struggles may be. We all have them. So that's probably the biggest piece of advice I would give anybody.
That's wonderful and so, so true. Lakeisha, do you have something you'd like to share?
Sure. I would say I think the best piece of advice someone gave me many years ago was that I am enough. I think, as you go through school, as you go through your career, as you go through life, there's going to be disappointment. Maybe you don't get the promotion you wanted or the job you wanted, or you don't get recognized for something, but that doesn't mean that you're not enough. That doesn't mean that you're not okay within who you are. And so even if things don't always go the way that you want them to, that's not always a reflection of you. And so I think it's important to remember that no matter what, you are enough and you are who you are, and that's okay.
Well, I feel like I'm just going to leave this session so inspired because of the three of you. You guys have just had such great things to share with our students. Lori, do you have something you'd like to share?
Hello. So I guess, again, I'm just saying to have respect for everyone and know that, they may have things going on. And I think one of the sayings I've seen a lot of lately is, if you can do anything today, if you can't do anything, at least smile at somebody, be kind to somebody. And I think it means a lot to people. You just don't know. And I try to make sure I live that every day when I see students in the hallway and welcome them and tell them to have a great day. Maybe they hadn't heard it yet that day. And I think that's important. Just treat everybody good.
Thank you so much. That is wonderful. So we do just have a couple more minutes. I won't make you all speak if you don't want to, but from any of our panel, does anyone have anything else they were hoping to share with students or hoping to touch on that we didn't get the chance to do yet? Any parts of the job, words of wisdom, anything you would like to share? You guys got it all out.
So I do have a couple of other things to add about being a leader, because I did start in like an entry-level position and have moved up. I'm not a fan of a couple of phrases that people like to use, like, you have to earn my trust. My trust is no more special than anyone else's. So when I have a new team member, they have my trust from the beginning. They don't have to go through any special test, or I don't try them or put them on trial to see if they can maintain that. I think that, and I'm genuine about that. I believe that if you're going to tell me that you're going to do something, you're going to do it until it shows otherwise. I don't think, oh, I got to test them and make sure they're loyal or they're going to do what they say. The other saying I don't like is, don't come to me without a problem, without a solution. The person you say that to may realize that there is a problem, but they may not have the training, the education, or the understanding yet of how to solve it. It's not their job to solve it. I'm the leader. I'm the one who should be able to be told that there's a problem and help them come to a solution. But if you find that there's a problem in my department, you don't have to come to me with how to fix it. I want to know about the problem and we'll fix it together. Those are probably two of my least favorite leadership things to hear. I think people who think their trust is so good that you have to earn it really have some issues. So I think if you're going to be a leader, you have to be open to trusting people from the beginning. Now, on the flip, I will say that I have been burnt like once or twice with that, but those 2 times getting burnt have been well worth the trust and respect that I get from day one with people instead of the other way around. So I'm willing to risk it.
That's wonderful. I need that lesson right now in life. The trust, I love it. Okay, let's see, Lori or Lakeisha. Do either one of you have anything else to add? No? Okay, that's great. Yeah, they did their favorite part. Okay, so we did have one more question that came up. And since we have a couple minutes, I say we go through it. What should our students be doing right now while they're in high school to prepare for the career path that they might be headed down, or to prepare for like how you prepared for school? What should high school students be doing right now?
One thing is spending a lot of time talking to their counselors and asking for help and getting direction. There's so much that they don't know about that's out there. And that's one of the things we focus on with the trade schools. They just don't know all of the different options that are out there, learning about the programs, understanding about financial aid. I've presented to classes and I've asked, has anybody ever looked at a job site? If you're interested in a particular area or career, have you actually gotten on Indeed or LinkedIn and actually looked at what kind of jobs are open in the area that you want to live? And most haven't. So have you gotten on, just Google and explored the career area that you're interested in? Back when I was in college, we didn't have all the tools that are available now online for students to even start exploring careers and jobs. And that's something you need to think about earlier than later. And really do reach out to your counselors. It's extremely important. They're a wealth of resources for you. And when they give you deadlines and they tell you things are coming up, you know, they got your back. They're looking out for you. Some of these things, you think you can wait till the last minute, but you'll find it's very hard if you do. And come explore, come do career nights, come, you know, job shadow people, learn as much as you can to see if that's really a good fit. You know, learn about yourself, your personality, your interest, your goals, but also learn about that career to see if that's really the direction and a good fit for you.
So to add to what Lori said about job shadowing or come to, you know, explore careers or whatever, with Miss Hargrave and Mr. Yoder, I think we did, I think 1 or maybe 2 high school tours. Of course, the pandemic has interfered with that. But if anyone does want to come and have a tour of the Blood Center, I would happily set that up. We are very fortunate in the Quad Cities to have this organization where we collect and process so much blood, and you can definitely see what happens. And I'm over donor services, but we have several other departments. I mean, so there are other activities here that could be done as well. I'll gladly set that up if you would like.
And at PV, we have had students that have actually job shadowed before the pandemic at the Blood Center. So they've been able to job shadow with the phlebotomist, and I forget somebody else in technical area that they were supervised or job shadowing. So possibility maybe after the pandemic is over.
I can't wait to get our students back out in the community, job shadowing and doing internships. It's going to be so wonderful. So Mr. Schneider from North Scott put some words of wisdom in the chat that I'll let you all check out. Some major life lessons about if you mess up, you fess up, so that the boss doesn't have to find out from someone else, and that your success will be more likely if you keep in mind how important it is to keep your boss's boss off your boss's back. So thanks for sharing those, Mr. Schneider. All right, with that being said, I think we have covered everything we were hoping. I think we covered everything we were hoping to cover for this first session. I want to thank our students for taking time. I know you guys haven't had much time in classrooms this year, and that you're taking advantage of this opportunity to consider your career is amazing. So thank you. I definitely want to thank our panelists. And I want to thank all of you because this was our first session of the event, and clearly we had some technical and some audio issues and just me being me issues. And so I just thank you all for taking this time and really investing in yourselves, in our community, and in your futures. So I look forward to seeing some of you students as we go on throughout the next couple of days. And panelists, thank you all so much for your time. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.